a lot of us are in our own way, myself and Alan included. I mean, every Monday when we talk, we're uncovering stuff about ourselves and each other and helping each other see the blind spots that are holding us back. That's probably a blind spot for you if you're out there, especially if you're emotionally driven.
If you're out there watching or listening, do you have a goal? Have you plugged anything into the GPS? If not, start there. Do you know where you're actually at?
My goodness, it is all happening. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, weekly live Next Level U podcast for week number 103. We are going to talk about how to learn how to make more money. Learn how to earn more money.
Strong work. We are 1 week away
from
2 full years of this.
Yeah. It's a real shame that we're not going to make it there because I'm burning down behind the scenes, but we were close. We were close. Yes.
You want to open it or me?
I'll let you open it. You can set the stage and then I'll take it away.
Kev, we're gonna have some new footage for the speaker reel. It always gets me
I was thinking
hyped up,
of that.
but we're gonna have some new. Yeah, same. We're gonna have to update that thing
for sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be learning how to earn more money and health, wealth, and love. Health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Wealth is how you make your money. Do you enjoy what you do? How much do you make? Is that increasing or decreasing, and at what rate? And then where are you investing it? And then love, friends, family, intimate relationships, clients, mentors, mentees, all that. So this is going to be focused entirely on wealth creation, how to earn more money. The very first point that I have is, the first thing I want to say before we go into our points. What is your relationship with money? That's what I want you thinking about. That's what Kevin wants you thinking about. What is your relationship with money? Are you overly scarce with it, where you never invest in good books or in good courses? You never spend it. You only ever save, and you're squirreling it away? Or are you overly abundant, where it's like, I'll worry about that later. I'll worry about that later. Okay, so there's an optimal stopping problem here where you can be overly scarce or overly abundant. And there's a sweet spot in the middle that depends on context. It depends on the quality of life you want to live. It depends on how much you earn currently and how much you're going to earn in the future. So, very first point here, I made this point at book club on Saturday. We're reading a book right now called Think and Grow Rich. Many people have heard of that book. And the idea in that book is that you need to desire money before you will learn how to earn more of it. I'm going to say that one more time. You must desire money before you will learn how to earn more of it. So Kevin is the CFO, Chief Financial Officer at Next Level University, and he understands the 7 fundamentals of finance. You'll learn that here. But the reason he understands that is he didn't start there. He didn't start out saying, I want to learn the 7 fundamentals of finance. No, what he started out with was a goal. And it was a net worth goal of $100,000 per year. That's what he wanted originally. And then eventually it became a net worth goal of $7 million. And then eventually it went to $70 million. And then eventually it went to $1 billion. Now, I remember at 26, Kevin tells his story about making $100,000 and realizing nothing changed. And that was his original goal. I want to make 6 figures in my 20s without a college degree. And he did that, and he realized that was not the solution. Then fast forward, we start this podcast. He starts his own podcast. I start mine. We team up. The Hyperconscious podcast is born. And he had on his, I remember this, Kev, in New Hampshire, you had a little vision sort of cork board.
I was going to say, you could call it what it was. It's kind of like
cork board.
A vision.
It
wasn't a vision board. Let's put it that way. It was something. It was something.
I'm pretty sure it had an arrow up.
Yeah.
And it said $2 million on it. And then you and I went to UMass Lowell to see Oprah Winfrey. And she, on the spot after her speech, donated $2 million to UMass Lowell, one of which is actually someone who I got on the phone with who ended up coming to Top Notch Live, by the way. His name's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, begins with a J, Jerry Use, I think. He is one of the recipients of that actual scholarship money.
That's awesome.
Which is really, really kind of cool how that all circles back. But anyways, Kevin was like, oh no, that goal's not going to do it. Oh, it was $7 million, not $2 million.
$7
right?
million, yeah.
$7 million. So Oprah donated $2 million, and Kevin went, $7 million's not going to do it. So I think you upped it to 70.
Yeah.
And then after that, you doubled it to 140. And then eventually you were like, okay, let's just aim for this guy. Let's do this billionaire thing. And the reason why I take everyone through that journey is because now Kevin is mastering the 7 fundamentals of finance, but he didn't start out, I want to master those 7 fundamentals. He started out with a goal that in order to achieve that goal, he has to sort of master this. So my question for all of you is, what is your net worth goal? I was on book club and I was talking about this. I'm not saying to set a net worth goal of $1 billion. I'm not. What I'm saying is to set a net worth goal that entices you to learn more about money, entices you to learn how to invest, to learn how to save, to get your focus there. If you set a goal to lose 20 pounds, of course you're going to focus a little more on whether or not you're exercising. You're going to focus a little bit more on how to lose weight. You're going to focus a little bit more on what you're eating. That's what I'm saying. Create a net worth goal, and we're going to explain what net worth actually is as well, and I'll do that quickly. So your net worth includes your cars, your homes, your businesses, your investments. It also includes debt as well, any assets and debts. And so, for example, a lot of people think like someone like Jeff Bezos, who owns a percentage of Amazon, who founded Amazon, has a net worth of, I think, $180 billion. They think he has that money. No. His net worth is that high because Amazon is worth a certain amount and he has 11% of that company still. And so he doesn't have 180 billion in his bank or anything like that. It's just that's what Amazon is worth. So a net worth goal is all encompassing. And so it includes, again, homes, boats, cars, all that kind of stuff. All of your equipment, all of your businesses, all of your investment portfolio. I digress. If you don't have a net worth goal, you probably won't have the necessity required to learn all these other fundamentals we're going to teach you today.
Alan, I don't know if this was the case for you or anybody. Well, actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, Alan. I'm going to do this. Alan has told this story many, many times, how one of his biggest fears is snapping turtles. Why is Alan more afraid of snapping turtles than I am? Because when Alan was a wee boy in his small pond, or large pond, small lake, he was walking and he stepped on a snapping turtle. And from that moment forward, he was terrified of that because he had built up this relationship with it. Now, for me, yes, snapping turtles are scary because they're dinosaurs basically, and I don't know how they're still around, but I don't get in the water worried about snapping turtles. Alan has a different relationship with snapping turtles than I do. You've probably met somebody who, when they were younger, they got scared by a dog, and as they grew older, they had a relationship with animals, like dogs they were afraid of. Every time they would hear a dog bark, it would trigger them. They always stayed away from the fences, whatever it may be. So my first point, rebuilding your relationship with it. Alan spoke about this, but I had a client, and we actually were lucky enough. She came to Next Level Live, which was amazing. And we're not working together anymore, but we're still friends. And I remember talking to her about it, and she avoided understanding money at all levels. She didn't want to track her finances. She didn't know how well her business was doing. She wasn't focused on learning about money. And it was no coincidence or no surprise that she didn't feel good about it. So many of us, if I use the word wealth, or if I use the word millionaire, if I use the word money, we have some sort of reaction because we're conditioned to feel that way. Maybe growing up, you didn't have a lot of money, so you don't feel like you have a lot of power around it. Maybe growing up, somebody in your family said money is bad, so you vilify anybody with money. Maybe you grew up with a lot of money and you were treated a certain way, and now you're afraid of getting treated like that again. So the first thing, the most important thing that you have to do is rebuild or readjust your relationship with it. And I think one of the best ways to do that, and Alan and I have talked about this many times, but honestly, it is the most, from my perspective, the most important fundamental when it comes to creating more wealth. You have to track it. You have to track it. Alan and I track our podcast listens every day. Why? Because we want to have an awareness of where we are so we can determine the best steps moving forward. We had somebody on the podcast one time, and he has a podcast on money and wealth creation. And we were talking to him about fitness. And he said, you know what? I don't track my calories or my weight or anything because I don't want to obsess over it. But he does track his finances, and he's a multi-millionaire. There's a reason. Because he's very, very in the numbers. So if you have a negative relationship in any way, shape, or form, whether it's you were very abundant when you were younger with your family and that treated you some way or you were very scarce, the first thing you have to do is rebuild it. The second thing, and I would say the most important thing, is track it. You can't sustain something if you're not measuring it. And so many people say, well, I don't want to obsess over it. There's a big difference between being obsessed and being informed. And if you're not informed, you're not going to be successful. And again, heart-driven, but no BS. If you're not focused on it, it will not expand unless it's by luck, and you can't replicate luck.
So Kevin and I's intention is to double the gross revenue of this business every single year, all the way until 2035 and maybe even beyond that. But here's my point. When you want to go somewhere, the GPS in the car identifies where you're located. It identifies where you want to go based on what you plug in, and then it figures out how to get there. So if you're avoiding looking at your bank account, and you're avoiding looking at your debts, and you're avoiding, just trust me, when you look in the dark closet, it might be a teddy bear in there. You have to identify where you're at and where you want to go. So when I got out of school, I went to school for 5 years. I got my master's in business and my electrical and computer engineering degree. And it was a very expensive school. And I had some financial aid and I got a lot of scholarships, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But I ended up $84,000 worth of debt when I got out of school. Fortunately, I got a lot of really high-paying jobs, but I had to look at that debt and say, okay, which one is the highest interest rate on those loans? And then I started paying that debt down. But I had to look at it. So how do you go from 84 grand worth of debt to debt-free in a single year? What I did was I identified, okay, my goal is to pay off 84 grand worth of debt in a single year. And if I didn't set that goal, I wouldn't have made the sacrifices that I made. And so maybe you don't know where you are financially. Maybe you don't know where you want to head. I mean, Kevin had the goal to make 6 figures in his 20s without a college degree. I'll tell this story briefly. I've never told this before. I was at a party, and this was during spring break, and I used to host parties at my house, and I used to hang out with all my hometown friends whenever it was break time during college. And I remember I was a junior, and I was working at iRobot at the time. I think I was making like $24 an hour or something like that. And I remember because I was wearing an I Love Robots shirt, which I got made fun of for. But anyways, so I ended up telling one of my friends, I want to make 6 figures right out of college. And I remember he texted me a few days later saying, do you seriously think you're going to be able to make 6 figures right out of college? And I said, yeah, I intend on it. And I tried not to have any ego with it, but now I understand that that person doesn't have a lot of self-belief and they don't have big financial goals. And the point that I'm making here, though, is that I intended on that in advance. And so if you don't have any financial goals, today is the day to create them. You don't have to know how yet. It's this weird thing where the GPS, your emotional guidance system, your subconscious mind will start to help put the persons, places, things, and ideas into your awareness to go learn. Right now, you might not even be listening or watching this unless you already have a financial goal. And if you don't, the first step is to create one. So you got to know where you're at. Look at your bank account. Look at your debts. I know it's hard. You got to look. Okay? I have one client right now who is in $42,000 worth of debt. I'll keep it anonymous, of course. Wants to be debt-free and in the green by at least 50 grand 2 years from now. Do you know how easy it is to set up a plan to do that? 2 years is 730 days. I told this person, we're going to be just fine. All we have to do is stay on track. This person makes, I think, $22 an hour. And all we have to do is spend a little less, earn a little more. Spend a little less, earn a little more. And by the way, this is how to earn more money. Spending less is earning more. Investing more is earning more, assuming you pick intelligent investments. So, I digress. If you're out there watching or listening, do you have a goal? Have you plugged anything into the GPS? If not, start there. Do you know where you're actually at? Like Kevin's client, this person hadn't looked at their bank account. They're actually way ahead of where they thought. I think it was like $19,000. And again, we'll keep it anonymous always, but they were way ahead of where they thought. Maybe you're ahead of where you thought. Take a look. 3 steps to achieving anything. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? and then how do you get there? And the interesting thing is you won't actually figure out how to get there until you know the first two.
Number 2 for me. Have you ever gone to the supermarket, okay? After the gym, before the gym, wherever it may be. And you're walking down maybe the frozen foods aisle, and you get to the end, and there's somebody there with a big smile on their face, and they got these mini hot dogs on a stick. And you think to yourself, I would like a mini hot dog on a stick. How much is it? And they say it's totally free, complimentary on the house. And you say, I'll have a couple. Give me 3 or 4. I have to really get a taste for it. And then as you're eating them, you see that there's a bunch of boxes of these mini hot dogs lined up right there on this end cap. So the reason I used to think they were doing that because they were nice. I really did. When I was younger, I was like, oh, that's awesome. They're giving you snacks for the road as you're doing your shopping. They're giving you those because they want you to buy them. So my second point, give more value away. Now, I'm speaking to the entrepreneurs in our audience and in our community. I have something in my eye. And what I'm saying with this is, whether it's a free call, whether it's a free valuable thing you can do, I'm on a lot of other shows and they always ask, what's your advice for podcasters when it comes to making money or getting clients? And I say, the main goal is to be the most valuable human being you can be for longer than other human beings, because whoever adds the most value collects on the back end. And what I'm saying is, do free calls. That's like the number one thing that helps us as a business. And this is the thought behind it. Just add value. That's it. If you say, hey, Kev, I want to start a podcast, can you jump on a free call with me? The answer is yes. It's not yes if you make $200,000 a year, yes if you agree to pay me. It's yes, I will add value, and if we feel like it's a win-win to work together, awesome. But the goal is to add value, because you never know when somebody's going to come back in the future. You never know when it's the right time. I think so many people think that they have to, with scarcity, hold on to all their knowledge. I don't want to share this. I can't share it. If I share it, people won't work with me. If I share it, people will steal my ideas. You have to understand that people want to know what you know. They want to know that you can actually help them. And sometimes the only way, and I think the best way, is to help them first. Help them for free. If you help somebody enough, they will sign up with you. That's the way entrepreneurship, particularly if you're a coach, is going. You add value through a call and somebody says, you know what? You're my people. You're my kind of person. I feel safe with you. I can tell that you care. Let's do this thing. And so many people are afraid to do that, whether they think it's a waste of their time or somebody's going to steal their ideas. You have to add value. Your social media adds value. Everything adds value. That's what it's about. The podcast is about adding value. This live weekly podcast episode we do is about adding value. Right? Everywhere we go, we try to add value. And it's the same for you. So really, the term is scale the unscalable. Scale the unscalable. Give free calls. Give a free PDF. Give a free whatever it is. And if people find value in it, they will come back. They will come back. And not everybody will, and that's okay. The people that should will. Now, obviously, if you're making a product and it costs you money, you have to be careful, right? Obviously, you can't give away all of your profit. But if your time is what brings you money, you're probably going to have to do that in the beginning. A lot of people think, well, I'm worth more than that. I'm worth $150 an hour. I don't disagree. But in the beginning, you're only worth what somebody's going to pay for. And oftentimes, they're going to jump on the phone to feel you out. Over-deliver. Promise and over-deliver, not under-promise and over-deliver. Promise and over-deliver. I guarantee you will make more money that way.
What is up, you guys? My name is Gabby, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Kevin and Alan for the community that they have created and the mission that they are on over at Next Level University. Never in a million years did I think, when I started listening to the Hyperconscious podcast 2 years ago, that I would be as invested as I am today. But here we are 2 years later. I have done group coaching. I truly look forward to every single episode they drop, all of the things that they're teaching. And I am now doing one-on-one coaching with Alan to help level up in my business. And all I got to say about these guys across the board is they are true, genuine souls. They mean it when they say they are heart-driven, and they mean it when they say they are no BS. And I think that's probably my favorite part about them. They get rid of the fluff. They give you tactical tips and tricks to help you level up in your life, to help you make strides towards your goals. and they've created a community of like-minded people to lean on each other at every single stage of life. So guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the impact that you have made in my life, and I am so very excited to see the impact and the waves that you make from here on out.
I've never told this story before, Kev. I was at Sensata Technologies, and me and my mentor at the time, who was helping me do one of his jobs, because at the time he was doing multiple jobs, and I was a global product manager for a $20 million portfolio of circuit breakers Caterpillar was our biggest customer. And these circuit breakers in these, anyways, it's a whole thing. But we were out at lunch, and we were product managers, so we had to dictate the price of the product based on the demand of the customers. And I was in my early 20s, and I was in the lunchroom with him, and I spent $2.50 back then. This is back in, I don't know, 2010 or 2011 or 2012, I forget. Probably 2013 maybe. Anyways, the point is that I spent $2.50 on this Gatorade. And I was talking to my mentor, and I was like, doesn't it bother you that we're spending $2.50 on sugar water? And this was really powerful. I've never told this story before. He turned to me, he said, Alan, you still bought it. Obviously, they priced it right. You bought it. So what's my point here? Your value in the marketplace in terms of earning more money is predicated on how needed that thing is at the time, and it's contextual. One more story. I heard this on a podcast somewhere. I forget who, and I apologize for not giving credit. There was a Girl Scout in California, you might have heard this, Kev, that broke the record for most Girl Scout cookies ever sold. And when they asked her how you did it, she said, I just went outside the weed dispensaries. I just stood outside the weed dispensaries. She was solving a problem, which was munchies. And it's a funny story, but that's how the world works. One more story. I have a client who identified a need in a marketplace. So NFTs, for anyone who knows anything about them, blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency, all of that is booming right now, big time globally, okay? One of my clients started an NFT marketplace called Ibisu's Bay, but before that, he was just a part of this community. And he noticed there was this huge need in the community for someone to host a marketplace that put the community first. So he created his own. Most entrepreneurial endeavors start as someone who needs something and realizes that there is a need that other people also need, that they create. This podcast, Kevin and I needed guidance. We needed to learn. We wanted to be healthier, wealthier, and more in love. And so we created something that would help people be healthier, wealthier, and more in love. So you need to be needed, and there needs to be a demand for whatever it is that you do. Okay. Last question for you on this point. Where are you needed most? Let me rephrase that. Where are your skills needed most? And how rare are those skills, statistically speaking? Okay? It would be unreasonably difficult, seriously, to replace Kevin in this business. And I never would, of course. But for earning more money, Kevin, taking him out of the equation, do you know how difficult it would be to replace him? He's got thousands of hours podcasting, thousands of hours coaching, thousands of hours tracking listens and finances, thousands of hours doing podcasts and producing podcasts. It's difficult to replace Kevin. That's why Kevin will be earning tons and tons and tons of money in the future. So the more difficult it would be to replace you, and the more needed your specific skill set is in context, is the amount that you're going to earn. And it's really important to understand that. I think not enough people really understand that your value in the marketplace is very contextual. Your value as a human being is infinite and intrinsic. Those are two different things, though, right? If I'm selling newspapers in a world where no one wants to read newspapers, and someone else is selling NFTs where the whole world wants NFTs, obviously the person selling NFTs is going to do better, not because they're a better person, but because they're in a better market.
And you need proof too. I think that's another important part, Alan, especially, and I'd like to hear your feedback or your perspective on this, but early on, when you're building something, if you don't have proof, it's very hard for you to figure out what you should be charging. So how do you, like, say there's a new coach out there, right? They're just starting mindset coaching, because you and I have both done that in the past. How do they figure out how much to charge?
I think that I'm on the weird end of this. And again, I think some people overcharge and I think some people undercharge, and it's a sliding scale. So Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard make hundreds of thousands of dollars per session coaching people, but that's also because they've been coaching for 30, if you're Tony, 45 years. If you're Brendan, I think 20 years. They didn't start there. I guarantee you, on some level, Tony and Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard both coached for free at some point.
Brendan said that. He said that when we went to see him, he worked at the sorority, I think. He did like relationship coaching or something,
Yeah, that's right. And then his first event was in like a circus tent or something like that.
Yeah.
But remember, you're seeing people at the tail end, and then you're thinking that you should charge what they charge. That is a massive mistake. If I start a phone company, there is no way on planet Earth that I should be charging the same amount as Apple. Why? Because the brand new phone I make is nowhere close, and it never will be until I invest 50 years and millions of dollars in the best engineers to make the best phone. Now, that doesn't mean I should undervalue myself forever. I should incrementally increase the price as I increase the value. And so I have a client right now who's starting her own coaching program. I actually have several. One of them, I said, just start coaching for free. Just go, who is the person in your life who is open-minded and open-hearted and who really does look up to you and needs help in their life? Who's the person who reminds you of you 5 years ago? Okay, this person gave me 3 names, actually. I said, reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I'm starting this new coaching curriculum. It's bi-weekly. I want to do it for free for you. All I ask is that at the end of 3 months, completely free, at the end of 3 months, you just give your honest thoughts on a testimonial. And then that person, not only coaching, is going to start seeing their own value, and the other person that they're coaching is going to see results. And then on top of that, you're going to have a testimonial. Big things start small. Everything starts out really small and then builds. I mean, Kev, the amount of challenge it was for you to get your first Next Level Podcast Solutions client versus now is a big difference. Why? Because you hadn't proven yourself yet. You didn't have the track record. Now we have more of a track record. We've got 19 clients, and that's all awesome, but we didn't start there. We started with a lower price and did whatever we could to figure it out, and now we're more valuable, and people know that, and now we can tell the stories authentically about all the success our clients are having. You got to start small and build.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful answer. You do. You just have to start. And then you got to figure it out because you're going to learn stuff along the way. And so my point goes directly to what Alan was just talking about. Believe it or not, I have probably, on the low end, 3 clients. On the high end, I've had 6 clients who were coaches and would come to me and say, I'm struggling to make money when it comes to the podcast. And I would say, okay, very similar to what Alan just said. Who are some people that you can help? Give me some names. And they're like, oh, I got a list of names. Like, here it is. And I said, have you ever talked to them? And I'm not kidding. This is the answer I've gotten. Oh, yeah, I talk to them like every week. And I said, so is there like an exchange of money or something? And they say, no, I haven't asked for any money. You have to ask. And I know maybe you're out there right now saying like, you don't really have to make that point. Believe me, going back to the relationship with money part, you do. You really, if you're out there, and especially if you're an early entrepreneur, maybe you've been doing this long enough and you have some scarcity around asking for what you're worth. Again, it's very contextual and it depends, and there's a thin line. But I have seen people who are worthy of getting money for their coaching not make any money because they're not willing to ask. And I remember saying this to one of my clients. I said, there is a very distinct difference between being a martyr and being heart-driven. This person was struggling to pay their bills, and they weren't asking for money from hour-long coaching sessions. So if you are helping somebody, at least have the courage to ask for what you feel you're worth in terms of compensation. Now, I know that kind of goes against what Alan and I were just talking about, but if you've proven yourself, if you have 5 people who you're talking to bi-weekly, there's a good chance you're adding a fair amount of value, and you should be compensated for that. Now, let people say no. Let people say no. I have seen this, Alan, and I'm sure it's probably similar for you. The people who are afraid to ask usually could never come off too pushy if they tried. They're on the lower end of belief usually, and I always say, I know you feel icky. I know it's going to feel weird to ask for money. I promise it's not going to come off weird because you're on the under. You're not going to come off as somebody who's arrogant or money hungry because the person's going to feel that it's authentic. And this is what I'll say also. When you start talking about money with other human beings, you'll see very quickly that there's kind of a pattern. I've said this many times with my clients. There's always a pattern. And when you get to the point where you say, for what you're looking for, it is $1,497 a month. It gets easier as you go. I remember the first time I told somebody, Alan, I was on the phone with somebody and I talked to her about our podcast and she said, yeah, let's do it. I'm going to be the easiest client you get all day. How much do you charge? And I was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. I said, for what you're looking for, it's $797 a month. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yep, $797 a month. And you can cancel whenever you want. It's awesome, right? And she literally said, you know what? That's more than I expected. I have to think about that. And
Oh, no.
I remember that conversation. I was like, oh my God, I blew it. And this person ended up becoming a client after she thought about it. But this is the point. I have conversations like that every day now. And it's easy to talk about money when you believe in what you're doing. Okay. So just at least have the courage to ask and let somebody say no. Let them tell you whether or not they want to work with you. There's so many people out there that have opportunity right under their nose. They have diamonds right under their feet, but they're not willing to dig. They have a shovel right there too. And it says dig here, but they're not willing to start moving the dirt. A lot of us are in our own way, myself and Alan included. I mean, every Monday when we talk, we're uncovering stuff about ourselves and each other and helping each other see the blind spots that are holding us back. That's probably a blind spot for you if you're out there, especially if you're emotionally driven, you're afraid to ask for money. And I understand because I was too, but that's holding you back.
100%. Kev, question for you.
Sure.
More of like an ask actually of you. Would you be willing to take everyone through what you did to get to where you are? Because you started coaching for free.
Yeah, sure.
And I was there for that.
Yeah.
And then it was $50 a week. And can you take us through that journey just authentically so that anyone out there listening or watching who's an entrepreneur can understand, like, okay, now we're making thousands of dollars and $100,000 in 3 months and global podcasts, all this. We didn't start there. We started in my sister's old bedroom and my mother's basement, coaching for free when we were broke, right? And can you just take us through that journey? Take your time.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate it. Alan and I were in Florida, and we were living with a mentor. And I remember before I went to Florida, I think I had either $400 or $600 in my bank account. And my mom and grandmother gave me $400. They're like, hey, we're so proud of you. You're going to go live in Florida for a month. That's awesome. Here's $400 for spending money. And I was like, hell yeah, I need that. You don't even know how much I needed that. And I remember Alan and I were in the office at our mentor's house. And I said, Alan, I need to start making money, man. At this point, I had been podcasting for probably a year, and I hadn't made $0. Zero. The $0 had come from the podcast. And at that point, Alan had 2 clients, I think. Amy was one of them back in the day. And I said, I don't know what to do. What's the best way to go about this? I don't know can I mindset coach? We talk hyperconscious stuff. I'm sure I can help people. And Alan and I had the conversation.
Awesome.
Alan and I had the conversation, and he said, you should reach out to somebody and just start coaching for free. So I messaged Jenna, who is now on the team and who was at our event. She flew in to Next Level Live. And I said, hey, Jenna, I know you're a listener because you've shared our podcast a bunch. I'm running a beta coaching program. It's totally free. There's no strings attached. I just want to learn how to coach. Are you interested? And she said, absolutely. And I coached Jenna weekly, I think, for like 2 months. And at the end of that 2 months, things were picking up with the podcast, and I just didn't have as much time as I did before. And I said, hey, Jenna, I can't do this for free anymore, but what do you think of $50 a call? And she said, yeah, it's been valuable. I'm happy to pay that. And I think we went from 50 to 75, and then eventually I did 100 an hour for my one-on-one mindset coaching. And then I remember in Florida, I was with Alan and Catherine Nash, and we were eating froyo, and Catherine and Alan were like, I think it was probably you, they said, have you ever thought of helping other podcasters start their shows? And I was like, no, I don't know. I've never really thought about that. And in that moment, so that was a new thought, right? That was a new thought. That was a new opportunity. That's another point is do what you're already doing. What you've already done, find a way to make that easier for other human beings. If you've mastered it, find a way to help other people with it. So I remember I told one of my mentors, or one of our mentors, I said, hey, FYI, if anybody's ever looking for podcast coaching, let me know. We have this production team and we're going to do it all for them. And I remember for some reason, I got a massage. Couldn't afford it. Don't know why I got it. But I was walking out of the massage and I had a message from this mentor and he said, hey, I have a potential client for you. Here's his number. Call him. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I called Alan and I ended up calling this person. And he said, yeah, meet me at my office building. I want to start a podcast. I don't know what the hell to do. I just want to pick your brain. So I drove like an hour out to his office building. He comes down in his tuxedo and he's the CEO of a wealth management firm. And I was like, what in the hell am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. I don't know what I'm doing. And we had a conversation and I was like, this is awesome. He's going to work with us. And he's like, all right, I'll give you a call. And I ended up having to go back to his office. And I was like, this is the time. This is going to be awesome. And he's like, all right, I got to think about it a little bit more. And I was like, oh, damn. And just know this whole time I'm broke. And then I went back a third time and he's like, all right, let's do it. Everything checks out. I've checked out your stuff. You've been referred. Let's do it. We're going to do this thing. And we agreed on a price. And I remember after I shook his hand, I got in the elevator and I literally was crying on the way down. And I sent Taryn an audio message and said, we did it. We got our first NLPS high ticket client. And yeah, that was 2 years ago, 2 years and 3 months. And we've gotten 18 since then, but that was the beginning. The beginning is just figuring it out. You're just figuring it out. And I've learned so much. I've learned more in the last 6 months than I did in the first year and a half, for sure. About everything, about money, about margins, about everything. And to Alan's point and my point before, you just got to get started. You're going to screw it up in the beginning. You're going to probably lose money in the beginning, but what you lose, you will make up for in knowledge that you'll have with you for the rest of your life.
It's so wild to hear that story. It's awesome. How many episodes have we produced at NLPS now?
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Of just clients? Or in
or
total?
Us and clients, yeah. Totally.
Oh, man. We're close to probably 2,000 at this point.
I want everyone to understand that we produce now 19 shows in the personal development sort of space. That started with that one. And it started with you going there for free multiple times, driving with gas money you didn't have. You know, it's just big things start small, and we forget that. We forget that because we see people at the tail end of a journey, you know, and we say this often. We had more listens in one day last week than the entirety of the first year. We made more money last week than the entirety of the first year.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, they all started as one person with a big idea and the ambition and aspiration and persistence. And Kevin and I are no different. Go ahead.
Can I add something real quick, Alan?
Yeah, man.
I think what happens, and this will be the last point because we have 2 minutes before the Q&A, but I think what happens is a lot of people, there's a correlation between their self-worth in themselves and the worth of their product or service. And you have to understand that you can't, just because you have lack of results does not mean you can elevate your perceived worth. Like, I think a lot of people do that. They say, yeah, you know what? Right now I'm not getting any clients and I'm kind of broke, but I'm worth $500 an hour. I will take nothing less. I will take nothing less than this. That's the worst thing you can do early on. You have to eat dirt in the beginning. You just do. You just do. Because, okay, cool. Wait for that $500 a month client. Wait for them. You might be waiting for 6 months. What if you had 6 months of $150 a month? You'd make more money in the long run. Last thing. Remember the story of we had a potential client who I got on the phone with and I said, it's $1,500 a month. He said, what if I give you $1,000 a month and I'll give you $3,000 up front and you can plug on my podcast? And I was like, no, not going to do that. $1,500 or nothing. It became nothing. So I should have taken $1,000, and that's probably a client we would still have and the relationships that would come with that. Don't think too short term. It might be free now, but it could be somebody on the team later, right? Jenna is now on the team. I hugged her 2 days ago in person. And that's the first time we've been able to see her in 2 years. But that free call became a client who became an unreasonably valuable community member, who became an unreasonably valuable member of the team, who's now helping us with our mission. That's a huge win. Next Level Nation, thank you so much, as always, for joining us. Week number 103. That's wild. That's many weeks. Obviously, many of you wanted to come to Next Level Live, and you couldn't make it in person. Alan and I are going to take all of the content. We're going to repurpose it into a virtual event that you will be able to download on the website. Obviously, it won't be the same as being there in person, but you will still have more of an experience than not doing it at all. And it was awesome. I do not believe you will find that much value at that price point, given what was said on stage and all the amazing feedback we got. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. That will be in the next few weeks, and we will have details as they arise. And when it is available, as always, it will be in the show notes.
As you can see below, Group 6 of NLU Group Coaching starts on April 19th. I cannot promise you it will be perfect, but I can promise you it will be the best one yet, because we have learned so much and we've gotten so much better. I am so impressed with the previous groups. Ambitious Army, Gratitude with Attitude, Tribe of Abundance, Pursuit of Excellence, and Legacy by Design. The 6th group, we already have 4 spots locked. You can do a payment plan. I think there's 6 and 12 months, or is it just 6 months?
I think it's 3 and 6.
3 and 6. So you can do a payment plan. I think it comes to $75 per month if you do the 6. And so you can lock your spot right now for $75, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Go to the landing page. It will be a link in the show notes if you're listening, not live. If you are live, Aim, can you please hammer that link in the comments?